There are some things that you can do on your own that you're expected to do, right? Now, nobody would expect me to be able to open up the hood of my car and be able to work on it to make it work straight. Though my friends think I should be able to work on my Jeep. Now, if you know anything about Joe, you know that mechanics is not my area of expertise. But there are a lot of things in life where sometimes we feel a little bit less than if we're not able to do it, especially if we see our neighbor doing it, building something, repairing something, things of that nature. It's just not the gift that God gave me, right? But for some reason, in the complex world that we live in, there are so many people who believe they're supposed to be able to do their investing and financial decisions on their own. Honestly, I've seen it my entire 33-year career. I don't know what it stems from. I just know that people believe money is so personal that everybody has to do it on their own. And we'll have people come into the office that go, I really think that I should be able to do this. I just know that I can't. And once they see all the things that we have to incorporate or do, it doesn't take long before they recognize, no wonder I couldn't do this on my own. Come see us at yourlifeafterwork.com, our website, or give us a call at 800-928-4001. We can explain why doing it yourself may not be all that it's cracked up to be. We're going to talk about it right now and Consider This Program. Well, good morning and welcome back to Consider This Program. I'm your host, Joe Clark.
And I'm Adam Harter.
And we are very, very pleased to have you along. Hey, we're talking about finding peace in doing it yourself, or not doing it yourself, however it would be. The first thing that I want to talk about in this conversation is understanding what a fiduciary is. So, Adam, in your best English language, what would you say as a CFA a fiduciary is?
A fiduciary would be walking in your shoes. What would I do if I was walking in your shoes? That's about as simple as I can make it.
That's very, very good. I always tell people that as a legal fiduciary, we have to treat your money as if it were mine and we were in the same situation. So one of the books that I'm reading, it's called the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Says we go back to the old question of what would Jesus do, and we really need to rephrase that. What would Jesus do with my resources, in my time, in my city, with the things that I have? And that's really what you're saying as a fiduciary. We're doing the same thing, right? What would I do in your shoes? What would I do if I had your resources, if I was your age, if I lived in Middletown, Indiana? What would I do, right? And that's really that question, right? Yeah. Does everybody have a fiduciary?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
You do.
So who's most people's fiduciary?
Well, I say if you can't name them, it's you.
It's you, baby. It is typically the man in the mirror. At the end of the day, somebody has to make the financial decision. And so I'm going to explain something to you that may sound really, really weird and odd. If I ask you what industry I was in, most of you would say, well, Joe's in the financial services business. If I ask you what my friend down the road was that's at Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or Wells Fargo or Ed Jones, you would say, well, they were in the financial services business. The answer is right, but it's very, 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 very different. So there are people who function as legal fiduciaries. We don't sell anything. We have no products. Our job is to treat your money as if it were our money and we were in the same situation. Whereas many of the other places that are out there, more than 90% in Indiana, functioned under suitability, where they take in information, they make a sales presentation, but at the end of the day, you have to make the decision. If you're managing your 401k at work, you are the fiduciary. If you're buying something from somebody who sells a product, you are the fiduciary. And if you made the decision to buy it, then the consequences, good or bad, fall on your shoulders in terms of where they are. This conversation may seem very, very basic, and for those of you who know what a fiduciary is, it may be not big of a deal. Let me explain to you why it is a big deal. So there is this wonderful thing in the world that we call trust. Now, I'm not even going to make you define trust, Adam. You aren't prepared for that one, so I won't even go there. But I am going to break trust into two areas that we can talk about real quickly. Because I believe the real problem that happens with the fiduciary issue is people not understanding the difference between character trust and competency trust and which one comes first. So let's go to competency trust. So When you go to have your car worked on, I assume you don't do your own car work.
Wouldn't know how to pop my own hood, I don't
Yes,
think.
I figured that part out.
They're all different now.
They are different. Try to find a battery in some of the new ones. They're kind of hidden. So what would you call competency trust?
I would say it would boil down to me having the confidence that the person I've entrusted to fix the car's got the ability to do it. Not only the ability, but the tools and the ability to do it in a reasonably good time frame.
Demonstrated experience, competency, being able to do it, right? So, that's where CFA in your case, CFP in my case comes into play. 33 years in my case, 20 plus years in your case. It's the size of the firm and where we are, but it's also the documented processes that are there, right? So the competency trust that our families have in us is very, very, very high, right?
Yeah.
So where does character trust fit in? What is that one?
Character trust would be trusting the person, right? That they know what to do, they can do it, and character trust.
No. Don't even go there. Don't even go there. It's not that far.
Okay.
Go back to it's trusting the person, right?
Trusting the person that they will do the right thing.
Think about this in the 20 plus years that we've been together. How many times have people come in where they have told you, I know I should be here, but this guy at church or my brother-in-law or my grandchild or my cousin or this person that I know from the fraternity, how many times have we heard, but because of the character trust?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Right. So at the end of the day, I know, hell or high water, I know that you would do nothing to intentionally harm me. Right. That is absolute character trust. Right. And I know that, and I will tell you as a professional, this is not true. But I understand where it comes from. One of my friends, and she's not a friend, actually. She's a peer would be a better answer. She's really mad at me. We got into a conversation. She had a couple $1 million in an account, and she looked at me and she goes, Joe Clark, I will always care more about my money than you will. And I totally get, and I told her that. I said, Pam, I totally get why you believe that's true. I'm just telling you, 33 years later, I will care more about your money than you have any imagination, because I look at it as $600 million and 1,058 eyeballs, double that, right? 2,100 eyeballs that we're taking care of, that we're the difference between them having a retirement and a not. Right? I can't care for my money as much as I care for all of those people that are out there, but I get it. But that's where character trust comes into play. We don't know how, as humans, to use competency trust to be able to offset character trust, right? And it's, you and I have fell in that pitfall with people we've worked with, right? We know this as humans, they're good people, and so you accept a little flaw every now and then in a competency thing because the character side is so good. And what I'm trying to tell you, and then we're going to move on to some more of this the do-it-yourself stuff, is you really want to work with people that you like and trust. That's important. But you can't let character trust by itself outweigh lack of competency trust. Make sure they have a documented process. Understand how the process works. I have a whole list, a checklist that I built that said, if I was going to hire a financial advisor and they weren't at the Financial Enhancement Group, here's the questions I would ask. It's a free checklist. Get it. You can go to yourlifeafterwork.com or call 800-928-4001 and request it. So let's go into some of the challenges or of the pitfalls, if you will, of doing it yourself. What's the biggest challenge that you see people get into, Adam?
Well, I would say it's a matter of perspective. To me, one of the most important parts of our job each and every day is to ask, how will I be okay if the world goes differently than I expect? And that is a much harder job to do when it's just you, literally you, and what you expect. So we're strengthened by having different perspectives of what the world might look like. So to me, I think it's a little less obvious, and it's in that perspective is having the respect for the variety of things that could happen to you down the road.
I would, yes, I think that is very, very well put. When you think about it, when your spouse is looking over your shoulder, and you've got your retirement there, making decisions is far more risky than you can say, well, a professional made that decision, right?
Yes.
It's they had here's the and understand, folks, things don't always go as planned. I mean, I've said this before. One of Adam's favorite sayings, and it's just so true, is that we have to plan for things that didn't happen, not only what did happen, right? It's real easy to look in a rearview mirror and go, well, that worked out well, or that really went poorly. You've really got to challenge the decision, how it was made, much more than the result, because you want to be able to replicate it. And let's not kid ourselves. Luck comes into play and bad luck comes into play. You can make the absolute right decision and get a really awful answer, right? Or you can make a really stupid, risky, absolute what in the world were you thinking kind of statement, right? And all of a sudden get a good result.
Absolutely.
And this happened. One of my friends has an account that she kind of plays with a little bit, if you will, and she was up 70% in 2020. And he sent me an email, kind of a little bit excited about I would be excited about being up 70%. I mean, that's short of 1999. I don't think I've ever had a year that was up that high. And I shudder to think about the risk that we took in 1999 unknowingly in order to get that return, quite frankly. But here we are. And so she was really excited. And then all of a sudden at the end of January, I got another email going, I see now why this is a problem, right? Remember, it always costs more to lose than it does to make. Right. So the example that I use with people is if you have $1 and you make 50% one year, you're now to $1.50. You lose 50% the next year, you're now down to 75 cents. Right. It costs more to lose than it does to make.
Yeah. And it's a double whammy because it's not only the actual dollars are actually worth less, but mentally it's magnified. It's emotionally. There's no comparison for most people. The hurt of the loss compared with the joy of the gain.
Yeah. So the wear and tear on the emotional side, it just freezes you. And I'm seeing a lady in Muncie that got out right at the top of the market, or right out perfect timing, back in the June or July of 2008. Right. Really, really, really smart, and still in cash. Really, really, really not smart. So the short term, very similar to what you talked about on the market carver for this week. In the short term, she was a genius. In the long term, she is really, really wreaked havoc on her future financial self, right? There are challenges. We have disciplines and processes in place. They're documented. Challenge yourself. Are you where you are because of character trust, because you know they like you and they care about you? Or are you there because of competency trust? Can they document it? Can they show you the financial journeys that they put people on and how each things are taken care of? Understand the difference. Remember, we all have a fiduciary, right? If you don't know who that is, if you don't know who you're paying for to do that, then it's you when you look in the mirror, and you are responsible for that decision. If you want to do it on your own, that is your business. If you're looking for a fiduciary, that is our business. Give us a call at 800-928-4001 or go to yourlifeafterwork.com. Again, that's yourlifeafterwork.com. Get signed up for the Market Carver and Your Next Steps meeting.